Okay. Okay, so so I'd like to welcome everybody to our weekly Infinite Possibilities conversation. It's always themed around business collaboration and gaining insight from many of our support partners and from other levels of government. If you've been part of our discussions in the past, welcome back. We have included an agenda today in your meeting invite, and we will open up the conversation after today's presentation. If you could mute yourself during the presentation, if you're not speaking, it will help prevent any background noise on the call. We are also recording the conversation and will upload the conversation to our WC YouTube channel. So you just do a search for Wheatland County Economic Development on YouTube and you'll find us. Or you can visit infinitewc.ca and you'll find all of our social links in the footer of our website. I'd like to now invite Donna Bigart, Division 3 Counselor with Wheatland County, to offer welcome to everyone today.
Thank you, Patrick. Yes, welcome everybody, and welcome Mark. And I want to take this time to thank everybody that comes on these very important Thursday afternoon opportunities to communicate and learn. It is so important. And Patrick, thank you for organizing this. So I will let Mark take the wheel.
Christine Madsen
is now exiting.
All right. Oh. I'm not.
Patrick, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. There have been so many changes in the business climate in our region and across the province over the last few years, and our businesses have been looking at pivoting, diversifying, expanding, or starting a business.
Christine Madsen
is
and
now
it can
joining.
be a very intense and complex decision. Our guest today will be discussing the importance of market research and how their organization can assist in traversing this very important element in decision making with confidence. With that, I'd like to introduce our guest presenter, Mark Shields with BusinessLink. Mark Shields has been a business strategist who approaches issues with a diverse background of wealth and experience. His business pursuits have included yoga instruction and event creation and promotion. He has studied accounting and history academically and sits as the treasurer of both the Major Minor Music Project and Calgary Can. Prior to joining BusinessLink, he helped plan, execute, and operate the Emerge Hub Economic Development Project in East Calgary, where he worked directly with growing businesses and was drawn to the problem-solving inherent in entrepreneurship. Mark is deeply motivated by the opportunity to build communities by facilitating interactions between people. Welcome, Mark, and go ahead.
Great, thank you so much, Patrick. Much appreciated. Very glad to be here. So I'm going to do a screen share. I do gather a couple of you have come in by phone, so apologies, there might not be the visual aids. But yes, as Patrick noted, he's recording it, so I'll do my best to be as descriptive as possible, but there will be that backup that hopefully you can check out. And we will have a Q&A, of course, as well, so please do ask any questions once I've kind of run through the content, which will keep relatively short, or I'll try to. So doing my screen share there now. So I'm going to start out today talking about BusinessLink. I'm really glad to see there's quite a diversity of people here. Some of you I know are going to be familiar with what we do at BusinessLink. Others maybe not so much. So I'm just going to give an overview of our organization. And then, as Patrick mentioned there, we're going to do a little overview of market research, which I think is such a crucial aspect of being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, that sometimes it can be overlooked. So we really like at BusinessLink being able to help people out with that aspect of their business, and I'll show you exactly how. So Business Link, we call ourselves Alberta's entrepreneurial hub. That's what we really strive to be. We want to be an organization that anyone who's running a business in Alberta or is thinking about running a business can come to, and then we will either provide information or distribute them out to other resources within the ecosystem, the small business ecosystem, appropriately. We're a nonprofit, so we receive funding from the federal and provincial governments to provide our services. We've been doing this since 1996, so coming up on 25 years. And really key to note, we help businesses at all stages. So we've often, there can be a bit of a perception we help people around startup, which is absolutely something we do, and we still get probably the majority of our queries coming from people at that stage. But we absolutely will work with businesses that are in their startup stage or in their growth stage, or even if they're well established and are looking at some kind of decision. We're here to help at every stage along the way. So we consider three categories, essentially, of services that we provide. So first of all, our business advisory services. This is what my role is predominantly as part of our strategist team, providing that one-on-one advice. So anyone can reach out to us, request a meeting with myself or one of my great colleagues, and we'll talk about whatever questions you might have or help you brainstorm, arrive at what your needs are. And we do that free as a free service to meet and discuss with us. We can have that be just one time, maybe you just need some particular piece of information which we can provide and you're on your way. Or if we have lots of clients who develop a more long-term relationship with us. So whatever is going to suit your needs, or as long as you're obtaining value and we're seeing progress, we will continue working with people. And of course, as I mentioned, they're doing referrals to other great organizations, which it's wonderful to see things like Infinite Possibilities helping out in that regard as well. Our business support services, so that's what I'm going to be discussing a little more specifically today, our secondary market research assistance. So yeah, I'll give you a more detailed explanation of that shortly here. But in that category as well, we have our expert programs, meeting with accountants and lawyers. We can facilitate that for you, providing templates for business plans, for cash flow statements, and lots of other templates as well, and providing reviews of those business planning documents. And then finally, our education piece. So being able to present information to gatherings of business owners like yourselves or gatherings of other stakeholders in the ecosystem is kind of our third pillar. Also, like to make sure we highlight a couple of our specific support services. So with Indigenous business communities in Alberta, we have a team of Indigenous staff that works directly with people who identify with Indigenous communities. And within that program is a sub-program of our procurement support. So one staff member who will identify procurement or businesses that have strong potential to engage in procurement contracts and helps them through that process. And we've had a lot of success with that program. That's had some spillover into our regular support as well. So we can, of course, help any business with government procurement if that's something they're interested in. And then our immigrant entrepreneur program is similar in the sense that both of these are meant to not provide any kind of unique or special advice. The running of a business is the same in all contexts. It's about that outreach and making sure we are being conscious about connecting with those communities. All right, so market research. I think that a good place to start is simply a quote here. Fear of the unknown keeps many people from achieving greatness in uncharted territory. That fear of the unknown is what we're addressing when we're doing market research. If we want to really boil it down or kind of summarize it as simply as possible. We want to start to create conditions where there's fewer unknowns. We're able to use information to help us make decisions. So if we want to get a little more specific about what we're doing with market research, we can define it this way. We're going to learn the characteristics and needs of your target market, the industry that you're operating in as a whole, and the particular competitors you face. Generally, those are the three areas that we're talking about. And within that process of that information, or seeking that information of those three categories, we're going to first gather the info, analyze that information, and then interpret it. You make a decision based on it. So why would we engage in this process of market research? Well, again, there's lots of nuance to this, but we can really summarize it in a few different areas. So one being that idea validation. That might be talking about a brand new business that's just getting started, or imagining enacting an idea that's come up, and we want to validate whether that idea is true. But it can also be for an operating business that it has a new idea about a new product they might offer, or maybe they're going to explore a new target market. That's the same validation process is going to take place regardless of that stage that your business is at. So kind of diving a little deeper into that, product design being another area, or service design. If we've got an idea of some new aspect to the business we want to be introducing to the buying public, we want to do some research to ensure that there's going to be a market for that before investing in it. And so all that is just to say more broadly, we want to make better business decisions. Anytime you have a decision that you have to make coming up in your business, and that's daily, this market research can help you with your daily decisions, but we're also thinking about those sort of larger, more impactful ones as well. Our market research is going to assist with that. So one of those visual slides, so for those of you on the phone, again, I'll do my best to describe here. We've got an inverted pyramid as a way to think about how the process, the actual how of conducting our market research. So we start out with the widest possible area. We call this our exploration phase. This is often done with secondary sources, and that's we're going to learn more specifically how BusinessLink can help you with a specific service. But yeah, we're starting out with this exploratory phase. We've not come to any kind of conclusion yet, or really even made any strong assumptions. We're just looking and gathering a wide range of information from lots of different sources, different areas, to give us a picture from which we can start to formulate that assumption. So typically we're looking at pretty broad sweeping data in that stage. Once we've done that, as we said, we want to start to draw out of that some assumptions. So we start to begin assuming, okay, my target market, I'm thinking is going to be, maybe we start out thinking it's anyone between ages 25 to 65. Well, we want to start narrowing that down. So our larger research is giving us some other ideas that we might focus that in on. Maybe we're looking more at an age range of 35 to 55. Maybe we're looking at men or women, our education level, current income level, those kinds of things. We make those assumptions, and then we need to validate them. Do those people, and we're using target market as an example here, do those people who have those characteristics, or who are use those characteristics to describe them, are they seeing the value that I'm providing in my business or my service or product? This is a back and forth process, essentially. We're going to make assumptions, we're going to test them. Some of them might not have worked out, so we're going to make a new assumption, test it until we can find those ones that are true. And then once we've got that, then we can go a little lower on that pyramid and tailor that information. We're kind of slowly, in a bit of a circular way, working our way down towards the very tip of the pyramid there, where we're integrating. We're now going to take this information we've learned, and we're going to execute a decision based on it and integrate that information into our business operations. So we have two categories, or two types of research that will be referred to whenever you're doing market research: secondary and primary. So these terms, just to make sure there's no confusion, they're not talking about level of importance. The primary is not more important than the secondary. It's not, one doesn't come necessarily before the other. What we're talking about is where the information is coming from. Is it being collected first by you, or is it being collected first by someone else and then being accessed by you? So our secondary market research is typically things like databases. We're going to now collect and interpret information that some other agency or some other organization has gathered and is making public. Some examples of that would be government sources, a very clear-cut one: Statistics Canada, Industry Canada. The data that they're collecting about the economy is a very clear secondary market research source. Additionally, though, things like universities, public libraries often have access to databases that might have relevant information. Industry associations can be important to look at. They, again, often are publishing data that's relevant for the people within their industries. And then there are even things like magazines, newspapers, just other online searching that you do. Being careful, of course, what kind of information you're using online, but that kind of info is typically what we'd consider secondary. And this is all going to help you with your exploratory phase. So we're not going to really draw a lot of conclusions out of our secondary market research, but it's going to guide the assumptions that we're making about our business. From there, we start to do that validating and tailoring through our primary market research. Now we are actually going out and making an effort and taking action to speak with and communicate in some way with either your target market, those people you think are your customers, or your competitors, and learning as much as you can about your competitors. So yeah, going directly to the source, essentially, is what we're doing with primary market research. We can think of one example that is an easy one to frame this around: the Coke versus Pepsi taste test, cola taste test. You're conducting a survey there, so you're kind of gathering information from the customers in your target market about whether or not your product appeals or has value to them. So one of the really important things when you're doing that primary market research is to have a strategy in place. With the secondary research, we're kind of grabbing, from anywhere and anything that seems relevant. When you're doing your primary market research, it is really important to have a strategy, and that's where our Business Link strategist team can definitely help you out. So if that's kind of the stage you're at, we won't dwell on this too much today, but by all means, if you're working with clients yourselves or are someone who could value some strategy in this realm, that was a great reason to connect with the Business Link strategist. We'll definitely help you out with that. We won't do it for you, I should note, but we'll help you imagine what that strategy might be. So again, we've got a graphic here that just does a description of this process of market research. So just to summarize quickly again for those of you who may not be able to see what's on the screen, we start out with why are we doing this market research? So we started to create that question that we want to answer, or that assumption that we want to validate. From there, we start to look at how we might gather information that relates to that, that's going to help us make that decision. That's getting into our primary market research. We make that strategy. We go out and actually do the research. We collect that information. From there, we start to review it. We take, now we've collected the information, put it all in front of us, start to do that analysis and interpretation, and this is the conclusion I'm making from it now, and then ultimately applying that research to something about your business operations. Once it's in operation, very likely you're going to come up with a new question or a new dilemma you need to find an answer to, and then this market research cycle starts all over again. So that's essentially the process that we're looking at. I'll do a really quick example. Then we'll talk a bit about how our secondary report service works, and then open up for questions. So one of the common questions we can find an answer to, or help us find an answer to through our market research, is discovering your target market. So asking yourself, who is your target market? Who are those people who are most likely to be your customer or to purchase your product, purchase your service? How might you describe them in an ideal way? If you can imagine a customer who could not say no or just would not be able to resist whatever you're providing, what would that customer look like? What would be the characteristics that they possess? So some of those places that we might go to start narrowing down. So again, just to put this in the context of our market research process, we want to find our target market. So we might go to that secondary information to look for things like demographics, how many people with these different demographic qualities are living in particular areas, where do they gather, this kind of thing. So we want to start to pick out which of these demographic points, psychographic points we feel are going to have particular appeal or see particular value in our service. Things like age and gender, their income, their occupation, family status, geographical location, ethnicity may play a role, what kind of interests they have. This is just some examples to kind of get the ball rolling. There's a lot more than that that you might investigate and use to create that profile, which again, then you go and validate. Same would go if you're a business that serves other businesses. So what is the profile of that business that makes up your customer? Things like the size of the company, how many employees do they have, how many sales do they have, where are they located, what's the region that they're serving, are all important things to ask. It's also, I think, worth noting that when you're serving businesses, there's still a person that's making the buying decision at that business. So what might you learn about them as well? So just quickly repeating, I won't go into too much or describe this all in detail again, but you can just imagine with that cycle that we described a moment ago, how might you find a greater determination about who your target market is and feel more confident that you're trying to sell your service or your product to the right group of people. All right. So our secondary market research service at BusinessLink. What we do, put quite simply, we provide a report. So we have access to several databases that are not publicly available. Well, they are for a fee, I should say, but we've acquired licenses to access these databases on behalf of Alberta entrepreneurs. So there's no fee for the reports that we provide. We give you typically a lot of information in the form of documents and other reports and such. We don't do that analysis step, at least not to a great extent. You can, by all means, reach out to our Strategist team to help guide to an extent that analysis that you might do of the report you receive. But yeah, by and large, that analysis is still up to you as the business owner. But the documents we provide are typically pretty tailored and can be really valuable information. Again, this can be for businesses at any stage. So it's crucial when you're starting up, but I'd say it's equally crucial whenever you're looking at making a change to your operations or pivoting your business or whatever the case might be for those that have been operating for some time. So when you fill out this report, and I will mention, I'll put on the chat here where you can find this, and I will make these slides available as well. We'll have a link to them, so I'll make sure that you all are able to get to the form on our website that you fill out to request a report from us. But these are the questions that we'll be looking for you to answer. So where will your business be operating? Our language here is put a bit in the startup phase, but again, works equally well for operating businesses. We want to know about your product or your service, so tell us a little bit about that. Really important to give us a sense of who you view your competition as, because sometimes we can gather information about those competitors to help you. And this is where we get into that target market. Who is most likely to buy your products or services? Who is your assumed target market at this stage? And And if you're looking for anything specific, so again, that might be something like demographics is a common one. I want to know how many people over the age of 50 live in Northwest Calgary, for example. And then lastly, we just want to know what kind of research you might have already done, just so we don't overlap or provide you things you already have. Right. So relatively quickly, some of the kinds of questions that this type of research can often help you answer. What are some trends in your industry? Are sales for your competitors trending up? Are they flat? Are they trending down? What kind of barriers to entry are there here? What's the typical cost structure of businesses within this industry? What kind of technological advancements have been seen recently? All those would relate to the industry or economic overview types of questions. Some things that you might consider about your competition. Well, how many competitors are there out there? Where are they? How can you contact them? Is there anything we can identify in the realm of strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats to run a SWOT analysis of these competitors? Yeah, this can also sometimes be used as a lead generator. I've often counseled our businesses to ask for some information about about competition, which is really just a list of companies in a particular industry, which can become a lead call list essentially. So you can look at it from that perspective as well. And then lastly, our customers, who are your customers going to be essentially? Does your idea serve an unserved need? So thinking a bit more about, is that need out there? How many potential customers that fit this profile are there near me? How often are these customers making purchases? What does their household spending look like? All that kind of great stuff. So these are all the sorts of questions that you can ask us, and our researchers will create that report to try to not answer the question for you, but give you some information that you can use to make that assumption or conclusion. So yeah, again, as I said, it's a form on our website that you'll fill out. So we'll make sure that it doesn't go missed, that you can all get access there. And yeah, you can also absolutely more than welcome, I'd say encouraged to reach out to me. mark@businesslink.ca is my email. Phone number 587-392-7955. But yeah, of course, you'll have my ear here for the time we have remaining, or for at least a bit of time. So I'm more than happy to take any questions you have. Last little brief thing before that, you're also very welcome to reach out to our team more generally. So, as I might not always be able to answer a question immediately, so it's really great to call our 1-800 number. We have strategists who are answering the phones between 8:30 and 4:30, and we'll answer your question immediately. So our 1-800 number is 1-800-272-9675. All right. Yes, I will open the floor, or let Patrick kind of take the reins back as well. However you want to run this, Patrick.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to either type them in the chat or raise your hand and your question.
I think you're coming through pretty quiet on my end, Patrick. I'm not sure if that's the case for the others. I could just barely.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, type them in the chat. And if not, just raise your hand and speak it out and ask Mark directly. Okay. Mark, I have a question for you.
Is now exiting.
Mark, during COVID, can you share any stories or examples of existing businesses doing market research in looking at diversifying or pivoting?
That's a really good question. Yeah, so specific examples. I'm running my mind as quick as possible here. We just recently started a program we've called Resilient Recovery Coaching, and I think I'm trying to think of someone there that we're going to look at doing some research around really quickly. So one that would come to my mind is this. I can't. They're around Three Hills, which and sometimes I must confess my rural Alberta geography isn't always perfect, and so I'm not sure how kind of connected to Wheatland they might be. But it's a company called Good Nights, and they do kind of these medieval themed parties and camping experiences. Which seemed really unique and quite an involved business, quite capital intensive as you can kind of imagine with the costumes and the props and decorations. And so they were kind of reached out to us, of course, event, as I'm sure all of you well know, event and tourism types of industries might be hit overall the hardest in some ways by COVID-19. So we're just wrapping up their year and reached out to us to get some, further information about that economic conditions. We're going to try to coach them through it of how they might be able to focus on additional target markets, as I was kind of mentioning a lot in the presentation there, and understanding a bit more about their how their profitability is going to look in the business. So not the maybe most clear or direct market research answer, but that's one that kind of is stuck in my mind recently as an interesting business that I think doing a little more research might really help to augment their operations and their sales. And yeah, it seems like a fascinating one to connect with. So yeah, and if any of this come up in just right to the tip of my mind here, I'll be sure to share them.
Awesome, that's great. Anybody else with any questions? There's a few things in the chat just to bring up that Carolyn says, thanks for the information, Mark. I look forward to sharing this information with partners as needed. And Carolyn is with Alberta Labor and Immigration. And Wendy from Community Futures is exciting to hear there was business in the CF Wild Rose region that participated in this, Mark. I know that organization and the owners well. As do I. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting business, and tourism has been challenged for sure. And we do know a lot of business in our region, especially in the ag tourism, is looking to come up with new ideas and pivot to try to keep some operation and cash flow going. And some examples in our region, they look to be potentially keeping whatever they've been doing through the pandemic as new revenue and marketing streams going forward, even after the pandemic.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be that kind of silver bullet, or the market research isn't necessarily going to provide that solution, but it's going to at least give you the confidence to know that you've made a stronger decision for whatever that decision needs to be if you've gone and done the research first. So yeah, I think it's helpful in that sense, no doubt.
Going beyond the gut feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. It probably also helps a lot too if you're potentially looking for funding to embark on whatever that idea is, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well, and that's, I think, where that connection between, as I was describing, the secondary and primary research can be really crucial. Is using both to show how they complement each other, in that this business is going to be or be positioned for success. Essentially, take some of that risk out of the situation for the lender or the funder, which they'll inevitably see if there's not a lot of information to base a decision on, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So any other questions from anybody?
I'm thinking I
Okay.
should throw up there our link to our webpage just in case anyone wants to grab it. So I'll do that this instant.
Perfect. Yeah, anything that goes into the chat with follow-up information, I'll definitely forward out to everybody on the call.
Okay. Yeah, and I can provide you with a PDF copy of the slides that we were walking through today for those who might have been on the phone and maybe couldn't see what was along there. So I'll email that to you.
Great. All right. So if there's no other questions, Mark, you're more than welcome to stay on the call, and we'll run through the rest of the agenda for the week. And we'll start with Councillor Bigger. Do you have anything you want to share from Wheatland County Council in news for the week?
Yes, Patrick. No, we're just getting kind of back from my couple weeks away. So we have a council meeting tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be more news then, but nothing at the moment. But thank you for asking.
No problem. And then let's see, with economic development with the county, there's a few things that I'll touch on. I'm pretty sure Wendy with Community Futures will have more information as well. But the biggest news, I think, on the economic development front for us in the past week is we have now available our complete community profile on infinitewc.ca, and it's available for download. We also have supplement documents of the community profile, so there's sections. One is the building of Wheatland County, which talks about the hamlets, the villages, town of Strathmore, backgrounder, and just the history of how Wheatland County is built out. There's a bit on Indigenous development in the region as well. And then in the other two sections, one is living in Wheatland County. So it talks about quality of life in the region. And so it gives a lot of data on housing, labor, that kind of thing. And then we have investing in Wheatland County, which talks a lot about development permit fees. It does an analysis of basically the tax differentiators between us and the surrounding counties around us, and all the sort of high level investment inquiry or information you might be seeking. And I would probably call that the bottom widest part of Mark's pyramid for doing your market analysis for the region and the opportunities that Wheatland County and the villages, hamlets, and the town of Strathmore could provide as incentive to build or grow in the region. So that's probably a big piece of news for us for this past week. So all those documents are available in either the complete profile or the 3 supplement documents. The other thing we've been working on is we're preparing for Small Business Week, and that's October 18th to 24th. We have on the Infinite WC website again. There's we've got an ad banner on the homepage that will link into the already secured events and their times and the registrations to get into each one of those sessions. And the whole week, the sessions are quite varied. That should be of interest to any business to get some information. And Mark is also going to be involved in doing a session that week as well. So definitely come and register for that. We'll be talking about the aspects of business and talking about the fears, the hopes, the opportunities in a COVID world. And yeah, so that should be a pretty good session. We also have Todd Hirsch returning to do another talk to his follow-up he did on the Infinite call back in June to talk about the state of the Alberta economy. So there's registration information on that page as well. There's a whole bunch of stuff through the week. We'll be hosting 2 Grow with Google sessions as well, talking about entrepreneurship and other things like that. So definitely check out that page, register early if you can. So that's another bit of news. And for the region, Community Futures, I'll let Wendy talk on that, but we do have a link to the new version 2 of the business survey on the Infinite page as well. That will link into the Community Futures page to do the survey. Yeah, and so that's about it on economic development with Wheatland. And now we'll move on to news from business support groups. And I guess let's start with Wendy.
Hi, sorry. So I'm just trying to think here what we have ramping up. I guess mostly it's going to be Small Business Week coming up. So as we all know, Small Business Week begins October 18th to the 24th. And we've been working with our chambers of commerce throughout the region to lead Small Business Week as a CF. So we are bringing forward, and also Wheatland County and our communities, as well as our business support organizations and other industry partners within that ecosystem that support small business. So we've been able to identify a series of presentations and topics that we will be opening up beginning tomorrow. I was hoping to have everything up today, but I'm about a day behind. So we're going to begin the marketing tomorrow for Small Business Week, and we'll have daily presentations focusing on different topics around finance, marketing, planning and preparedness, as well as just pivoting for entrepreneurs. So looking at some new opportunities. We're also working with the Chambers of Commerce to bring in some roundtables so that we can work more closely with businesses to find out those key challenges and working with them to pivot and identify some solutions in moving forward. So that's kind of in a nutshell where we're at. This year's theme is called Business Exists Here. So you can go to our website and we'll have the information there, but also stay tuned to our Facebook channels as we promote. And Wheatland County and the municipalities have also been great in accepting to promote the initiative as we move forward. So otherwise, really, that's the big thing I've been working on here the last couple of weeks. Succession planning has been doing well. We've had a great uptake. Actually, I just received the participant list. And we've had a great uptake of entrepreneurs and in the region participating in that succession planning session. So again, if you are looking to sell or just need to begin having that conversation, the succession planning programs are available there for small businesses. And then we also have the matching piece. So if your business is for sale and you're struggling with trying to find a buyer, or just looking for new options in which to sell your business, please feel free to reach out to me at the office and we can talk a little bit more about that opportunity for entrepreneurs. And the business survey is being released as well. And Patrick, I'll maybe let you talk a little bit more about that, maybe. I don't know. But that's out there for businesses to complete as well. So Patrick's been doing a good job of promoting the survey as we begin to gauge where businesses are at today in comparison to the post or right at the early onset of COVID. So I guess that's about it.
I just missed Carolyn, but I'll try to get an update from her too, and perhaps next week. And I noticed Reeve Link joined the call. Reeve Link, do you have anything you want to mention?
No, I'm sorry for joining late. I have, I think, 3 or 4 things happening this afternoon, but one finished. And so I hopped over here just to see what you guys were chatting about. I can see you talking, Patrick, but I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I've had
No,
that
that's
mute
okay.
problem today. Yeah. No, you warned me that you'd be a little bit multitask today, so it's great
Yes.
you stopped in.
I'm working on my clone, but it's not quite perfected yet. So
Okay. Well, there's a new industry.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Councillor Bigger, do you have anything you want to say before we go?
No, I just want to. I appreciate all the information coming out of this call. It was really good. It's too bad there wasn't more on, but it's probably one of the last sunny weeks we have, so maybe that's the problem. Yeah, I appreciate the knowledge. It's very good. And yes, thank you, Lisa, for sharing your information too. And that's about it.
Great.
And
Well, and we.
I was just going to say, like, I just remember that I am a resource for you. So if anyone does have any questions, feel free to just, send me questions directly, or, send them through Patrick. I'm normally, always available by email. Patrick has my mobile if anyone needs to reach me. So
Perfect.
Thank
Great.
you.
And I will be uploading this to YouTube after too. So we might be losing a few people to watch it on their own demand. They just miss out on the opportunities for questions. But yeah, it was a great presentation by Mark this week, and he'll be back for Small Business Week to do another session. Yeah, just one more call out for everybody to register for as many sessions as they can during Small Business Week. We have a number of them now, and still working on filling the week in with even more. So thanks, and thanks to council, and thanks to our support groups and businesses on the call. And we'll see everybody next week. We have Ryan from Local Shops coming on to talk about e-commerce and what he's doing and building a e-commerce platform that's similar to Amazon, but totally designed for local businesses selling local in with a lot more of that local flair. So it should be an interesting session next week as well. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody, and we'll see everyone next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you. Thanks.
thanks. Take care.